Students, 10th class students, good morning all of you. Continuation of yesterday's lesson, that is the Brave Porter Part 2. In yesterday's lesson, you have learned about the lesson, some part of the lesson, the mysterious creature caught the tiger. The tiger was caught by the mysterious creature, and the tiger was thinking that it was the most dangerous creature than him. So tiger allowed him to do what he does. However, the mysterious creature shouted and kicked on his head and shoulders and directs him to reach his home with heavy voice, shouting loudly at him and kicked him, beat him, and with heavy voice and directs him to reach his house. After reaching his house, he tied the donkey with an iron chain under the tree. And who is this mysterious creature? Yesterday I told you we have to find it. Who was he? We have to know. On the afternoon of that day, a porter had arrived home after a hard day's work. He was tired and thirsty. He had asked his wife for some palm wine. The more he drank, the better he felt. When he had drunk all the wine, he no longer felt tired. When the storm began, the porter suddenly remembered that he had left his donkey tied under a tree. He rushed out of his hut to take the animal into the stable. You can imagine his anger when he discovered that the donkey was not there anymore. The only thing left was its chain. My stupid donkey must have run off into the forest, he grumbled. When I catch him, I'll give him a good beating. See, on the afternoon of that day, the porter arrived home after a hard day's work. So, after doing hard work, he arrived home in the afternoon. The same day, afternoon, he arrived after doing hard work. He arrived home in the afternoon. He was very tired at the time. He was very tired and thirsty. He felt thirsty and tiredness, and he asked his wife to give some palm wine. Palm wine means palm wine. An alcoholic drink. An alcoholic drink made from palm trees. An alcoholic drink made from palm trees. So he asked his wife to give some palm wine. The more he drank, the better he felt. After drinking, he didn't feel any tiredness after that. He drank more, the better he felt. He didn't feel any tiredness after drinking after that. When he had drunk all the wine, he no longer felt tired. Now he had no tiredness, he felt better. When the storm began, heavy rain, storm means heavy rain with strong winds. Heavy rain with strong winds. When the storm began, the porter suddenly remembered. Then he remembered that he had left his donkey tied under a tree. So he had left his donkey after taking some palm wine, and he felt better, and that time immediately he got remembrance. He had remembered where he had left his donkey. He had tied the donkey under a tree. Then he had left it. So he remembered suddenly. He rushed out of his hut to take the animal into the stable. So he rushed out of his hut. He came out of the hut and to take the animal into the stable. You can imagine his anger when he discovered that the donkey was not there anymore. So donkey was not there. He came out of the hut and looked into the stable, but imagine how angry he was, and that the donkey was not there. The only thing left was its chain. Only thing was its chain. Only thing left was its chain. My stupid donkey must have run off into the forest. Run off. Run off means escape. Run off means escape. My stupid donkey must have run off into the forest. He grumbled, complained in a bad tempered way. Grumbled, complained in a bad tempered way. Complain in a bad tempered way. So, how his anger you can imagine. My stupid donkey, he said to himself, my stupid donkey must have escaped into the forest. He grumbled, he complained in a bad tempered way. When I catch him, I will give him a good beating. When he catches, he will give a good beating. He grumbled. And the porter walked through the wet forest. When it became dark, he often stumbled over roots and fallen branches. With each step, the porter felt angrier and angrier with his donkey. So, he wanted to search for his donkey. So, he went into the forest. He walked through the forest. The way is very wet and uneven because of rain. But he went into the forest to search for his donkey. With each step, the porter felt angrier and angrier. Each step, that means he hit his feet against something and almost fell, stumbled. Unsteady walk and almost fell, and through the fallen branches because of strong winds, branches of trees are fallen down. But he wanted to search for his donkey. So he went into the forest, and each step made him getting angry, and his angry grew more and more. So when I catch him, I'll tie him up under the tree all night, he muttered to himself. Muttered, speak in a low voice. Muttered means speak in a low voice. When I catch him, I'll tie him up under the tree all night, he muttered. He spoke in a low voice. Hours later, the porter reached the old woman's hut. There he saw an animal sleeping in front of the door. And hours later, the porter reached the old woman's hut. After searching many hours, he found an animal taking rest in front of the hut. He reaches an old woman's hut, and there he saw an animal taking rest in front of the door. Taking rest or sleeping in front of the door. There he is, he shouted. There he is, the stupid animal. There he is, he shouted. The stupid animal, there he is, he shouted. The drunken porter did not notice the difference between the donkey and a tiger. He kicked and beat the sleeping tiger. He then jumped onto the frightened animal's back, rode it home, and then tied it up with the iron chain. Finally, he saw a tiger. He thought that it was his donkey. In a drunken state, he couldn't notice the difference between the tiger and the donkey. So, finally, he saw the tiger, but he couldn't notice the difference between the tiger and his donkey because he was in drunken state, and he thought that was his donkey. He thought that it was his donkey. So he then jumped onto the frightened animal. Almost the tiger was frightened because of that woman's voice. Before it, she complained about the leak. It was very dangerous, the tiger thought. Because she complained this leak was very dangerous, I would meet with tiger in the forest than this leak, she said. That's why tiger had thought it was very dangerous than him. So the frightened animal allowed him to do what he does. So he jumped onto the frightened animal's back, rode it home, and then tied it up with the iron chain. Next morning, the villagers who passed the porter's house looked in amazement at the tiger tied to the tree. Soon, the news spread throughout the village that the porter had caught a tiger and tied it to a tree in his yard. All the villagers praised his courage. They also thanked him because the tiger had eaten many of their goats and buffaloes. They had tried to catch him. They had tried to catch him for many years but had failed. Of course, the porter said that he had done nothing of the sort. He said that he had only brought his donkey home. He did not understand how the donkey could change into a tiger. When he saw the tiger, he fainted. Nobody, however, believed the porter's story. The villagers even praised him for being modest. Soon the porter became famous. Everybody who met him called him the brave porter. The simple porter himself never understood why. See, next morning, villagers, he caught in a drunken state. He couldn't notice the difference between donkey and the tiger. So he rode it and took him to his home, tied the tiger under the tree, tied the animal under the tree. Next morning, villagers who passed the porter's house looked in amazement, very surprising. Amazement means very surprising, and a tiger tied to the tree. Tiger was tied to the tree. Soon the news spread very fast. News spread very fast throughout the village that the porter had caught a tiger and tied it to a tree in his yard. Porter caught the tiger, porter caught the tiger, porter caught the tiger. The news was spread throughout the village, and the villagers praised his courage. So, brave porter. Villagers appreciated him. Villagers praised him. They also thanked him because the tiger had eaten many of their goats and buffaloes. They had tried many times, but they can't. They failed. They couldn't catch the tiger. They tried, but this tiger, the same tiger, had eaten many of their goats and buffaloes, but they had tried many times and they failed. So now the porter, the simple porter, had caught the tiger. That's why they felt very happy, and they praised the porter. They appreciated the porter. They had tried to catch him for many years, but they had failed. Of course, the porter said that he had done nothing. Porter hadn't known how he had caught the tiger and how the donkey could change into a tiger. He couldn't understand. So he said that he had done nothing sort of, and nothing of that kind. He doesn't do anything, he said to every villager. But villagers didn't believe him. He didn't understand how a donkey could change into a tiger. When he saw the tiger, he fainted. Fainted means lost consciousness. Fainted means lost consciousness. Lost consciousness. When he saw at it, he lost consciousness. When he saw at it, he lost consciousness. He became unconscious. Nobody, however means nevertheless or but or nevertheless. But nobody believes the porter's story. Nobody believed porter's story. Every villager praised him, and they praised him for his modest, for his simplicity. How he had managed but the porter couldn't understand how he had managed to bring a tiger to home. To bring a tiger home, he couldn't understand. Soon the porter became very famous. Everybody who met him called him the brave porter. But even villagers praised him for being modest. For being modest means not proud. Every villager praised him because he was very modest. He doesn't have any proudness by caught the tiger also. He is very brave and courageous porter, but he is very modest and not having any proud. Soon the porter became famous. Everybody who met him called him the brave porter, and he became very soon the brave porter. Porter became the brave porter. The simple porter himself never understand why. He couldn't understand how this had happened. He couldn't understand how it had happened and how he had managed to bring a tiger to home. He never understand. So he never understand and why it had happened he doesn't know. But he was praised by all the villagers and soon he became very famous and he was praised by all the villagers and he was praised by being modest. He was very modest, simple person and without having any proudness by doing the courageous thing and brave thing also. Bravest thing also he doesn't have any proudness. He was very simple person and without having proudness all the villagers praised and appreciated him and thanked him and the potter couldn't understand why this thing had happened and how he had managed to bring a tiger home. He couldn't understand. Thank you students. At this point I like to stop and at this point in next class we shall meet again in the continuation of lesson. So you read lesson students, completion up to completion part of the lesson you read lesson, find out difficult words and find meanings, write in your paid notes. Thank you.